Welcome to the Putback on SNY.TV. I'm Ian Begley here alongside Chris Williamson, who kicks us off with the baseline.
That's right, Ian. A lot of Knicks fans finally got what they wanted on Sunday. The youth movement in full force as Tom Thibodeau's squad snapped a 7-game losing streak. We saw Cam Reddish with 17 points, IQ with his first career double-double, Sims and McBride well into the plus range. Why did Tibbs change course and play the younger players?
I think part of it is injuries. Obviously, Derrick Rose not there, Kemba Walker not with the team. Was this the big shift that we've been talking about for weeks? I'm not sure. I think if everybody was healthy, I think we would see similar rotations from Thibodeau outside of maybe at center, where Jericho Sims seems to be getting regular minutes as Mitchell Robinson's backup. But I don't know if this was the big shift, but certainly you liked what you saw on the floor if you're a Knicks fan or if you're Knicks brass or Tom Thibodeau, because that unit played well offensively, but defensively was fantastic. They were able to switch all over the floor because of the versatility of everybody, the wingspan of everybody on the court with that young lineup.
Yeah, something positive to build off for sure. And it was Cam's just his second game with the Knicks where he reached double figures, 25 minutes off the bench. Is this what we can expect moving forward, or do you feel like he might transition back into, a lesser role when the guys are healthy?
Yeah, I would think the latter, Chris, based on everything we've seen so far. If you have Quentin Grimes and you have Obi Toppin back and Derrick Rose is back, I would think that Cam Reddish's minutes decrease. And it's interesting because it goes back to the idea of the Knicks, giving up a first-round pick and Kevin Knox for Reddish. Reddish not playing at all initially, leading to speculation about a rift between Tom Thibodeau and the front office. And my understanding was front office made the deal and basically said that, Tom, you figure it out. At the trade deadline, even after the Knicks had dealt for Cam Reddish, acquired him, there were teams talking to the Knicks about potential trades of Reddish out of New York. And the Knicks were entertaining those talks because that's what you do at the deadline. But the Lakers were one of those teams that were aggressive in their pursuit of Reddish. Several other teams had interest. And that tells you about Reddish's talent and his upside and how other teams view it. Obviously, the Knicks have Reddish under contract through next season. He's extension eligible this offseason. Teams who were looking to deal for Reddish felt that his range would be, 17 to 20 per year. That's what he'd be looking for in extension talks or in free agency. So all things worth noting.
This week's guest is 13-year NBA veteran Quentin Richardson, who spent 2 tours with the Knicks. He is one half of Hooper Vision on NBA League Pass, and he also co-hosts the Knuckleheads podcast.
He's the coach, and they're not doing as well as they expected, so he obviously deserves some of that criticism, but I would stop. Yeah, I think it goes too far because, you got to remember, this is a guy who was right up there for Coach of the Year, who was being praised and celebrated for changing the Knicks around the way he did. So you have to believe it's more than just what he's doing that's changed this season. And I'm smart enough as a player to know that. Tom Thibodeau has been consistent with who he's been as a coach and who he's been as a person from everything that we from the public eye could see. And I don't see anything that's changed. So when I look at things like that as a player, I have to then go from not looking at him anymore to looking at what things have transpired with the players and with the team. One of the biggest things that stand out is Derrick Rose not being there. We know how much he meant to the team's success last year and how he helped them. And I think that was a big difference among some of the additions and things that didn't go the way they wanted to go. But that's not really in the coach's control. His job is to coach his team and to be who he's been. I feel like he's been consistent with who he has been. He just has, the team is a little bit different this year, and it's a down year.
Yeah, it's funny you say, that he has been consistent with who he is, because I think sometimes he may be stuck in his ways and he doesn't want to, maybe adapt to a different philosophy. And sometimes that, doesn't always work out.
Quinn, expectations when they're raised, is it different in a market like New York than it is maybe some of the other markets that you've been in, or is it the same?
Nah, everybody knows New York is extremely different. Just from, I live in Orlando now. When I came here, we had 3 or 4, beat reporters, regular everyday guys that come to the game, come to practice, as opposed to New York, where it's double figures, 10, 11, 12 every single day. It's and that, in some of the other smaller cities, what's normal in New York looks like a media scrum in some of the other cities. So that's just, that's just part of the territory. And, everybody, the one thing about New York, nobody wants the same story. So
Right.
I don't care whether the story is good, bad, or indifferent. You're not gonna have 4 of the same news reporters writing the same story. So that therein lies where a lot of stuff happens in New York. And I was, privy to that, being there for 4 years.
You know how it all works here, man. We might have to cut that out because you gave away all our secrets. Marcus, we've seen you change your tune about RJ Barrett of late, and we know, Barrett's playing better. Early on, it seemed like there was a lot of negativity coming from you about RJ, but more recently, changed your tune. What did you think about him early on, and what do you think about him now?
I just wasn't a believer at first, just because I saw him what I saw happen in college, and then he's come in the league and he's been killing since day one. There's no bust. People have been saying RJ Barrett needs to do this, RJ Barrett needs to do that, blah, blah, blah. And you look up, he's got 26 and 7. I was at the game last night when they played the Sixers. And he was putting in work, getting to his spots, hitting his shots. I admitted I was wrong about RJ Barrett. He's a killer. He's a killer. Like, he is.
Was it the idea of just watching him at this level, night in and night out, that changed your opinion? Was it something more recently?
Well, I wouldn't put him on Luka's level, but
Right.
It was like, didn't think that his game would translate, because I thought he was too upright, a little bit stiff. But it looks like to me all that's been worked out.
Aggressive, man. Just lately, he's been so aggressive, getting to where he wants to go and getting by people with the ball in a sense. I can see where you're coming from, because rookie season, it didn't seem like, it seemed like he would use his strength to get to the basket. A lot of other people, scouts included, mentioned, is he going to be able to go east-west or get by people? But he's doing it now. He's getting off the dribble, getting into the paint, and that's something that, I think was a question mark going back to his rookie season as a follow-up. Is he the kind of player that, can help you win? Because that's what Knicks fans are desperate for. Can he help you win at an elite level? I'm not saying he's the number one guy, but is he the kind of player that helps you get?
He's a very, 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 very intricate and good piece to a team. Then you get him a point guard. Like Dame Lillard would be perfect in New York City. I think that might happen too, but
we appreciate when people can say they were wrong. I do.
Wait, so you brought me on here to are you gonna have like the tweets roll by of my old RJ takes?
That's a good idea.
I just want to say, RJ, I'm very sorry for doubting you at first. I've been told that my sources that James would be well open to leaving, to going to Philadelphia. Very much open to it.
He's another guy that the New York, the whole everything of it isn't too big for him. He's an even keel guy. When you look at him, he shows emotion and things like that, but I wouldn't say that he's a guy that gets too high or too low. And through everything, I think he's one of those guys too. Is just, he keeps his head down, just keeps playing no matter what the Bulls are, whatever. That's what I've seen from him, that he's continuing to work on his game. He's adding things. He's getting better. He's improving in different areas. And he's hit a streak where his confidence is showing. I think he's gained a lot of confidence, and you see it in the way he's putting up points right now.
When you were a Knick, what was the narrative about signing in New York? Because obviously there were a lot of coaching changes, during your time in your first stint with New York. And how has that changed for today's players as far as the perception? And what do you believe it'll take for the Knicks to become a major draw for these big-time superstars?
Well, the temperature when I was there, we were not a very good situation, because everything that was going on, there was a lot of chaos and a lot of different storylines and craziness going on. So from that standpoint, the viewpoint of us was like, they kind of like the laughing stock. I think now, they got a great front office in place, just trying to do things. Mr. Dolan is allowing them, giving them the wherewithal to make the moves and to control the team the way that they want to. But as far as what I see, that they need to make them a destination. If they can hit in the draft or somehow draft a player that's like they need a LaMelo Ball type or a Ja Morant type, somebody who people want to play with. That's just like, when LeBron left Cleveland and then, they went and they got Kyrie and he was like, wait a minute, I could they need something. To me, that's the only thing they really need, because New York is New York. You don't need to sell New York.
Yeah.
They had, because you got to understand, for guys that come to New York, they have to be built the right way. It can't just be like, oh, I'm about to, nah, you gotta have a exterior, a layer of skin to you that you used to certain stuff. And then when you can deal with it, and if you win these fans over, you good forever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you really hit and you win with these fans, like, you good.
Quentin, NBA fans, younger fans, maybe they weren't around to see you at the poll and see your exploits, but the younger fans now get to see you on Hoopervision, on League Pass, you and Jamal Crawford.
It's an alternate stream. So, you know, it's an alternate place for people to come and observe the game and get insight from guys that played at that level for a long time in the NBA. And, you know, we can relate to a lot of different situations going on. Maul is unbelievable at being able to articulate what's happening in plays, the reason coaches are running these plays, and why players, you know, make certain moves or try to do things to get advantages. So we give those different, you know, viewpoints of the game just from a player standpoint.
Look, I'll be honest. I wish I had my credit card receipt here because I'm not lying. I did sign up for League Pass to watch you guys. There was a game where you had Fat Joe. I was like, I have to see this. And now I'm in. So chalk that up for Hoopervision. Our thanks to Quentin Richardson and Marcus Gradney. For Chris, I'm Ian, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. on the Putback.